I'm here, stuck here, and I can't campaign. I'd rather be right now in Iowa. I'd rather be in New Hampshire, or South Carolina, or Ohio, or a lot of other places, but I'm stuck here because I have a corrupt Attorney General that communicates with the DOJ in Washington to keep me nice and busy. And the judge already knows what he's going to do. He's a Democrat judge. In all fairness to him, he has no choice. He has no choice. He's run by the Democrats. I know this city better than anybody knows this city. There's nobody knows it like I do. He's a Democrat judge out of the clubhouses. He's controlled, and it's a shame. What's going on here is a shame. Our whole system is corrupt. This is corrupt. Atlanta is corrupt. And what's coming out of D.C. is corrupt.
That was a very red-faced Donald Trump, livid about how poorly this trial has been going for him. Now, we got to fact check something really quick because he said he was stuck there for the trial. And I have to point out, he has no obligation to be there. He doesn't have to be there until he's called to testify, and that hasn't happened yet. He's just putting on a show so that he can push the framing that they're trying to interfere with the election, that they're trying to prevent him from being on the campaign trail, which is absolutely not what's happening. He was found to have committed fraud, and now they're having a trial to determine damages. He did the crime. It's not election interference. But speaking of the trial, let's go over a little bit of what's happened in the past 3 days. Now, Donald Trump's lawyers got in a fight with the judge overseeing the case, arguing for their right to ask repetitive questions. And really quick, before I get into the details of that, I have to remind everyone, and I must be a broken record. Every time this week I've been on the show, I've brought this up, but this is a bench trial. The judge holds the fate of Donald Trump's ability to practice business in New York and the millions of dollars he's going to be asked to pay back in the palm of his hand. And Trump is like, let me go on TV and call you an idiot. Let me go on Truth Social and insult you and your staff. Let me have my attorneys yell at you in the courtroom. I don't understand the legal strategy here, but with that, let's talk about specifically what they're doing. An insider reported that New York Supreme Court Justice Arthur Engoron, who's presiding over the trial, was having none of it. You're not allowed to waste time. He snapped at Trump's lawyers during one testy exchange. Really quick, I want to add just a bit of information for people who might not realize. Supreme Court Justice sounds, like a very high position in New York. Not that it isn't a coveted position in law. In New York, that's not the highest court. That's the second highest court. The New York State Court of Appeals is what we would think of as the Supreme Court as far as structures go in other states and the way it is federally. But that's not the highest court in the state. Just in case you read that and thought, how did he get it to that level? He didn't. But let me continue on with this reporting from Insider. On Wednesday, Trump's attorney, Jesus M. Suarez, continued his cross-examination of Donald Bender, an outside accountant who had compiled the Trump Organization's statement of financial conditions until 2020. New York Attorney General's office, which is bringing the lawsuit, questioned Bender on Tuesday. Suarez asked about whether Bender and not Trump and his children would be responsible for the statements, which the Attorney General's office said included outrageous valuations that were fraudulently used to obtain bank loans. The move was a continuation of a strategy the Trump Organization's lawyer employed during an earlier criminal trial, trying to shift blame to Bender. The buck stops with you, right? Suarez asked. Bender stressed during multiple questions that he and his accounting firm Mazars USA was responsible for compiling the documents, but that the Trump Organization was responsible for giving them the market value and liabilities for each property. So just to sort of summarize what I just read for you, make it more digestible, what he's saying is that Trump provided him the information. He provided him the valuation of the assets. He said, this is worth this much money, this is worth that much money. And this man's job was just to put it together in a portfolio, not to make those valuations himself. But to show you what type of circus Trump's legal team tried to turn this courtroom into, at one point, Suarez, Trump's attorney, pulled up a list of 200 corporate sub-entities of the Trump Organization, many of which were just for particular apartments, and started asking the same set of multiple questions about Bender's work on each one of those 200. He then went through the financial statements of each year of Bender's more than a dozen years of involvement with the Trump organization and started asking the same question about each of them. And that is when Justice Engoron lost it. Here's a quote. "We're not going to go through each year, are we?" Engoron asked. "No, I'm not going to let you do that." Engoron asked Bender whether his answer would be the same for each year. When Bender said yes, Engoron asked Suarez to move on. "What's the difference?" Engoron said. "Jesus, now Suarez attempted to do this multiple times after Engoron already scolded him for trying it in the first place. So much so that at one point the justice said, "I don't just talk to hear the sound of my own voice. What I'm saying means something." He pounded on the bench and yelled. That is how contentious this battle became between the two of them. Now, at the lunch break of this trial, Trump, despite the fact that he claimed was stuck there, effed off and went back to Florida. And it was at this point that New York Attorney General Leticia James called Trump out for what he's been saying in the media. Let's take a look at that.
Trump's comments were offensive, they were baseless, they were void of any facts and/or any evidence. What they were comments that unfortunately fomented violence, and comments that I would describe as race baiting, and comments unfortunately that appeals to the bottom of our humanity. This case was brought simply because it was a case where individuals have engaged in a pattern and practice of fraud. And I will not sit idly by and allow anyone to subvert the law. And lastly, I will not be bullied. And so Mr. Trump is no longer here. The Donald Trump show is over. This was nothing more than a political stunt.
And through all of this, Ida, it seems like Trump's attorneys are just as childish as he is. And the only arguments and their main argument in court is that this is a political attack on Donald Trump. They've sort of reiterated the racist rhetoric that he has espoused, claimed that the trial was based on race, that she was being an anti-white racist to him. The whole thing is just a disaster show, but he's using it to, promote to his, I think he described them as low intelligence voters. Oh, you're muted.
Do that out of courtesy. What they say is when you're accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression. The people in the state of New York are held to the same laws that everybody, that Donald Trump is being held to. And all business owners are held to the same standard. Why he thinks that he shouldn't be held to the standard is just indicative of how elite he is in his mentality. And the people who follow him so closely and worship him don't realize that he does not see himself like them. Because if he did, he would stand trial and say, I'm an American. I want to be a good leader. I want to be a good citizen, and I want to lead by example. And so if I did something incorrectly, then let's go. But he's not doing that because he doesn't feel like he should be beholden to the law, because he does think that he is above everybody else, and he only calls on certain groups of people when he needs them, and he uses them and then discards them. I mean, I don't think that this is in any way a departure from who Donald Trump has been. But this whole idea that he is being persecuted is just his direct call and talk to white supremacists who are out there that are under the belief that people of color are trying to, oppress and apparently get some revenge for what's been done to people of color historically in this country for hundreds and hundreds of years. That, for some reason, these women are like banking everything on that. And it's just straight foolishness that this woman is risking her well-being with the rate of violence and in the world of hate crimes is ridiculously through the roof. That she trying to hold him to the law as she would anybody else is now being called a racist. Which is ridiculous to hear people say that, people who, Donald Trump is still running for president. Donald Trump is still leading as president. He still has a great number of people following him blindly. And he is, he's also misinforming the public by saying that he's being held against his will. And it's because he hasn't been able to find something that is outdoing what he did his first run. People are no longer shocked. Fake news is old news now. All of the things that he did that were dynamic at the beginning have been normalized. So foolishness in our American government, it's not foolishness, it's just Thursday. So now as he tries to shock the country continuously with new things to say, new attacks, they're normal now, little hands. That's what you did. You brought all this foolishness about. You shocked the country. You got yourself where you needed to go. You did the next season of The Apprentice within our American government. And now you are shocked that nobody is shocked anymore. But we've already seen you have tantrums. We've seen you turn red. We've seen you make false accusations. We've seen you threaten people. We've seen you give lies upon lies upon lies. Nobody's shocked anymore. You made it normal. So I'm sorry, you're going to have to figure out something else to do because nobody cares anymore.
Right. And, he's still trying to do the same old playbook, going to the rallies, saying, increasingly incendiary things, but it's not getting the media attention. You're right. It's not getting the same media attention it did in 2016 because we've all seen this playbook before.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.